So let's have a look at our flying stars. So, okay, so we can see here, this is our flying star chart for the year. Um, and it's also showing, where the animals show up in the chart as well. So here's our chart, our tiger, right? So the Grand Duke always shows up in the direction that the animal it is. So this year it is a tiger year, and the Grand Duke, we in feng shui, he's not a auspicious character to have in the chart. So the northeast area, I'll talk more about it. Or he's also known as the Tai Su. It's and I have more charts for this. It's a downloadable chart. It's a pie chart that you can place over the floor plan of your home and see exactly where these degrees land in your home and how we can work with them, because we want to make sure that we're really not sitting or sleeping in that 52.5 to 67. See, it's right here in that direction. And then also the animals that are directly across from where the tiger is it's not auspicious, so the tiger, you can see, we already kind of talked about that. We've got the goat or the sheep, and the monkey directly across. And so then what goes across is what we call the Sao, which is from 232.5 degrees to 247. So even though I'm sad to say we have great energy with the annual 8 coming into the 8, coming to the northeast, you've got your 8 in its home star, but the problem is we've got the Grand Duke in there as well. So it's like that's the best area, but unfortunately it's not really the best because the Grand Duke is in there. And we'll talk more about what we want to do, but we want to avoid digging. We want to avoid, especially not sitting in that exact degrees. So you can see the lay of the land here now, from this chart, and there is a downloadable version of this view, and all these PowerPoints are available for you as well, and for you to have them as visuals, as well as the recording and audios, and the class will be transcribed as well. So you'll have everything you need. So I want to talk about, first of all about the center 5-star that is in the center of every single building, but it's also, as I talked about, if you lay it over a city, you lay it over the world, that's the 5-star, and it is the sickness star. So it's not ideal, and definitely not doing any kind of digging in the center of your home this year, because the center of the home is really about health and unity, and being present and being mindful. That's what the intentional energetic feng shui represents. So we want to be really kind of mindful of our health this year and do our best kind of not to disturb this. Now, I'm all about sovereignty in our own home and empowerment. So what I love to do at the beginning of the year, I love to look at all the flying stars. I like to get all my remedies in, all my elements in, all my saltwater cures, and then I don't even think about it for the rest of the year. I'll have a peek at there is monthly stars as well, which I'll be sharing with you. But I get my remedies in, and then I just enjoy my life and get on with it, enjoy my home. I don't worry about that star being there all the time. I think that's the beauty of feng shui. It's there, you get your remedies in place, you neutralize it, and then you enjoy. So the number 5, we call it the yellow disaster or misfortune star. So that's going to be in the center of every single body's home, and that brings the energy of delays, obstacles, lawsuits, can be sicknesses, casualties. So it's called the yellow Shaw, or some people call it the evil influence star of the yellow pest and sun star. It's some people call it the bone breaker, so not the most auspicious of all the stars. And it's an earth element, and it's in its home base, right? So the center belongs to the earth element. The 5-star's original position is in the center, and then it returns. So it's kind of doubling its power. The annual 5 has the ability to resonate through the entire home when disturbed. So, think about what that is. What is the center of your home? For a lot of people, it's just like a hallway. It might be a whole closet. Now, remember, you're dividing the whole home by 9. So sometimes it kind of leads into a little bit of the living room, or a little bit of, but most people don't have a bedroom in the center of their house, which is a good thing, right? So when activated, it can bring health issues and loss of wealth. And then, you'll notice that I talked about a person and a trigram for all the stars, but the 5 is the only one that doesn't have. It doesn't have. So the 5-star is inherently not a good star, and it's also not in a timely phase. It brings potentiality of what I already mentioned, and it's not a good area for pregnant women or women that want to become pregnant. And if somebody has to be sleeping in it or has to be spending a lot of time with it, we really, want to make sure the remedies are in. Yeah, very, very important. So you can see, this is what I was talking about as far as, showing the degrees of things, but this is where, the annual 5 lands for this year. So the remedy, because it's an earth element, and that's why I wanted to go over what the elements are and what they mean and what the cycles are. But if we've got an earth and we want to weaken that earth, right? So in feng shui, we rather use the weakening cycle versus the destructive. So the way we weaken the earth is we bring in metal, right? Metal will weaken that. So that's what we talked about it. So ideally, because it's an annual 5, we want to bring in what we call heavy metal. So that would be a minimum of 45 pounds, which I think would also be about 25 kilograms. And then we also want to bring in our moving metal. So we talked about pendulum clocks, a grandfather clock, solar powered windlass wind chime. And then it's also a really good thing to bring in the salt water cures as well. Salt water cures are those little, you can use, I usually use like large glass jars, and then you can get brass coins. It's really important that they are brass, and because we use salt. So I have a whole video and a class in your login on how to create them, and it's really fun. I create 10 every year, and I place them around my home, because you're going to find out there's quite a few, and you can put one in every room if you want, because what they're doing is the salt is a cleanser. So it's basically that little salt water cure is drawing all the negative energy out of the space, and it's taking it into this little jar. So there's a whole class on how to create it. So if you can put your heavy metal, your moving metal in there, add a salt water cure, and you really want to avoid fire, because what is fire? That activates the earth, and we do not want to activate it. We don't want to add water, because water will rust the metal that's in there. And then obviously we don't want to add more earth to the earth that we're trying to weaken. So we want to avoid the fire colors, the earth tones, and the water colors. And then it's really, really important, out of any area of your home this year, is that you do not disturb the center of the home. And if I was working with a client that had a few options for a bedroom and they presently are sleeping in the center, I'd be like, hey, you want to sleep in another bedroom just for this year? You don't want to be doing any renovation. Like, you really want to keep that area as calm as possible, right? No major remodeling. I mean, if you want to hang a picture, that's fine. Or you could paint it, but really the less that goes on there, the better. It's hard if you've got a stairs in the center of your house, which is not ideal feng shui anyway, because the center is about digestion and stillness and earth, and people are running up and down stairs all the time. It can create digestive issues. So, and then now we've got the 5 there on top of that in its like home base. We really want to be mindful of that. Now I see there's some questions. It looks like a whole load of questions in the chat box. I just want to check. And you know what I'd love to do? I'm going to get to all your questions, I promise, but I'd love to get through all the flying stars. And what I would invite for you to do is jot down your questions, because your questions are really, really important, and I want to make sure I answer them all. But I'd love to go through this, because I probably might even answer your questions as I go. And then regardless, at the end, I'm going to address all your questions. So avoid any digging. So I'll be telling people to put off the construction. And if somebody really wanted to do remodeling in their home this year, it was just like, I've got to do it, I've waited, and this is the year we got to do it, then I would just suggest that they move out when it's being done. That's a simple solution if somebody really wanted to do a remodel in some area of their house. Keeping it quiet, keeping the fire colors out of it, not even lighting a ton of candles in that area, is really ideal for this area. So you add your heavy metal, your moving metal, your salt water cure, and then because you think about what that energy, the 5, brings in, so we want to kind of rebalance that energy. So my question to you is what would that be for you? Like a Kuan Yin statue, the goddess of love and compassion herself, or, you know, fresh flowers, or like, what is it to you that represents love, compassion, peace? It could be like, of course, we're not meant to add a ton of earth, but a tiny, couple of little crystals would be fine. An affirmation on health. If you added some kind of symbol to you, like with the golden ratio or a yantra or a mandala or something like that, like that's all going to help that energy that the 5-star is bringing in. And of course, as I said, if you don't bring a ton of earth in, but maybe, a couple of crystals or something would be fine. So it is an area that if you can spend less time in it, it's fine. But if like you live in your home and you really use all areas of your home, like I'm not crazy about telling people you can't use that area of your home, but just, if you can put the remedies in, the salt water cures everything and stuff. And if you still need to spend time in it, that's fine, just be a little bit more gentle in the space, and just knowing the colors that are good for in there are like the whites, silvers, and the pastel colors. And the saltwater cure. So that's what the cute little saltwater cures look like. And I probably wouldn't be adding the red ribbon because we don't want any red in that area. And then because it's the center and because it is to do with health and unity, but also because it is where the 5-star is, some really good stones like might be black tourmaline, which is powerful protection crystal, or obsidian, or even amethyst or labradorite, pyrite, would be good, black jade, black tourmaline, as I said, or black obsidian as well. So any of those gems would be really powerful to use. And then just writing your affirmations, and then just knowing, it's kind of like, then that you've done what you need to do, and then you can just get on with enjoying your home and life. That's what I love about feng shui. And then in your calendar, and there's also a separate download to show you kind of when the flying stars are coming in. So like on August, you've got the annual 5 coming in there. So, you just tell people probably just be a little bit more mindful in that time of August if they are still using the room, or November, like the 2-star will be in there, right? So, just I like to kind of keep an eye on that.